Hello, a Better Lived Life crew. I'm Christina, coach, combat vet, and community change agent. Do you ever find yourself in the cycle of finding a new form of entertainment, thinking this is the best thing ever, overindulging, maybe buying a bunch of equipment, very quickly getting bored of it, and end up left with regrets about the waste of money and or time and beating yourself up because you can never stick with anything? Sound familiar? Well, that is very much part of most people's ADHD. You aren't alone. We've pretty much all been guilty of this, but I have some good news. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to lose your hard-earned money to every short-term passion. You don't have to keep all of those dead hobbies in the closet forever like skeletons to remind you of your guilt. There are things you can do to greatly decrease lost funds while still enjoying new interests. You will notice that up until now, I haven't used the word hobby. That's because a hobby isn't really something you do once or for a short period of time. It's something you enjoy over time. It's a small distinction, but important in the context of ADHD. We enjoy new experiences, and our brains seek novelty. This in and of itself isn't a bad thing. The problem comes when our ADHD lies to us and tells us that something is the best thing ever. We need everything related to it, and we will love it forever because it's so awesome. When we stop and actually think about it, we know that we're lying to ourselves. We all want to be special. We all want to have something special. We all want to be known for something special. We allow the ADHD to lie to us, but we don't have to. Here are a few ways to slow down and embrace the idea that something can be novel, wonderful experience before we ever consider turning it into a hobby. By treating it like an experience or experiment, we will save money, time, and a lot of heartache. So tip 1. Can you try it for free or nearly free? Thanks to online groups like Buy Nothing groups, we can often ask to borrow something to try it out. Thinking of taking up golfing or metal detecting? Ask someone if you can borrow the necessary items for the weekend to try it out. If a family member or friend engages in that activity or did, can you borrow theirs? Some libraries now loan items in addition to books. Maybe there's a place where you can rent equipment to try it. Even though this can feel expensive, in the long run, it can save a lot of money if the interest doesn't become a hobby. So I was debating getting a food processor, but I didn't want to waste the money knowing that I don't like to cook. I kept an eye on my local Buy Nothing group, and someone eventually posted an old food processor. It wasn't in the best shape, but it was more than adequate for me to learn how one works, how easy it is to use, and get an idea of what I could do with it. I used it on and off for almost a year. I finally decided that it was useful enough to get one that was in better shape. I asked my family to pool together and get me one for Christmas. And they did. 0 out-of-pocket expense for my new kitchen toy. Tip 2. If you can't try it for free or rent it, or you've already done it and you think it might be a long-term winner, what is the cheapest way to enter this field? Do you really need the deluxe complete kit with 1,000 versions? Or can you start with something cheaper, more in line for someone just starting and learning? What about buying used? Using golf as the example again, it's probably not worth going for the high-end full golf kit. Odds are you're going to damage your clubs while learning anyway. Get something cheaper or used, wear it out. And if you still love it, When the cheap stuff breaks, time to get something better. With the food processor example, if my family hadn't been willing or able to buy me one because I had invested the time to try it out, I would have been comfortable buying it for myself. Tip 3, wait. Seriously, just wait. See if you still feel as strongly in 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, depending on the expense and commitment. If you can do it for free, it's an experience either way. But if it's going to cost $1,000, thus impacting your savings and retirement, wait. On one hand, I'm sure there are literally thousands of things I thought were interesting, but because I put them off and the desire flamed out, I can't even remember them now. I've undoubtedly saved thousands of dollars. On the other hand, I want to take up metal detecting. The detector I want and the accessories I want would cost me well over $1,000. The downsides slowing me down have included that I would need to go in the mornings since I'm not supposed to be out in the afternoon sun, and I hate getting up early. I have issues with my joints, including the shoulder that would need to carry it. I hate the cold. And most of the year, the beach is cold in the morning and the water is always cold. So I've put conditions on myself and this potential hobby to prevent the loss of money that could be better spent elsewhere. First, I waited. Well, it's been years and I still want to do this. So that condition has been met. Second, I decided to wait until I'd done the physical therapy for my shoulder and I felt like I could comfortably walk on the sand for hours. Well, I did the physical therapy for my shoulder last year and I'm working on incorporating those exercises into a regular part of my routine. The physical therapy for my back and my hip, those exercises are already a part of my routine. So another condition's been met. The last test for myself will be borrowing one from someone and doing a test run. Waiting isn't about depriving ourselves. This isn't punishment. It's about choosing the better option. If I was always blowing my money on things that looked good, I'd never have the money, time, and space for this potential hobby, let alone money for retirement. That just leaves that I hate the cold and getting up early. But for that, I can compensate with tip 4. So tip 4, intentionally make a hobby seasonal. Instead of going into it with the idea that I'll love it forever and want to do it forever, I start right off the bat with the idea that this will be a late spring through maybe early fall hobby only. I can set an annual calendar reminder for around the time I can expect it to start getting warm enough and bright enough in the morning to interest me, and to remind me that I have a metal detector in the closet waiting for me to get back out there. And I have zero reason to feel guilty during the winter. You could set a time period as short as 2 weeks each year where this will be the hobby of choice. Keep it short enough that you don't get terribly bored and give up. If you like to sew, but hate setting up and putting away the sewing machine, so you put things off for months, instead, pick a month or two where you will set it up and work on your projects. Then you can spend the next several months or even the rest of the year daydreaming, deciding, and anticipating what you will make during your next sewing season. You can keep an ideas folder or book to entice you and daydream about and feel completely guilt-free. Tip 5, recognize that doing the thing and buying the supplies are 2 completely different activities. When we shop, we often buy for our dream version, not reality. Go back to tip 1. So for the sewing example, don't buy fabric when the idea pops into your head. Instead, wait until sewing season is about to begin so that if you have decided that another project is more interesting, you don't have the fabric sitting there guilting you about that project that you never did. Tip 6, pay cash. Never use a credit card for a hobby. This one is very simple. If you aren't interested enough in it to save up the money and pay for it immediately, you are not interested in it enough to do it long term. Tip 7, before you buy anything, tie the new interest into other goals. For the metal detecting, if I go to the beach in the morning and metal detect, I will get a different type of exercise, especially good for balance. And getting out in nature is very good for our mental health. Knowing additional reasons why you are going to do a task can help push beyond that sounds cool and can help us stay motivated a little longer and push through the hard parts. Tip 8, make room for new experiences. It's time to let go of old interests, outdated versions of who we thought we wanted to be. Keeping something just to guilt ourselves about how we never finish anything makes no sense. It eats up brain space and actually increases our desire to avoid responsibility. When we are avoiding something, we are more likely to be impulsive, spend money, and engage in further bad habits. So get it out. You can sell it, give it away, or trade it. There are now groups out there that specifically focus on trading hobbies with other people when our interest runs out. This way you can try a new experience without spending money and get rid of your guilt-inducing reminders. It can be a little painful to admit our past mistakes or that something isn't for us, no matter how much we want it to be. But just because we spent a lot of time or money making a mistake does not mean we have to continue it. Let it go. Tip 9, include friends or join a group. If we feel that we are part of a group that does a specific thing, it becomes part of our identity, not just something we do. So this is one of the most powerful ways to reinforce any habit. For a potential hobby, this could mean finding your friends who are interested or who already do it and finding ways to do it with them. Could be a competition or it could be collaboratively. It could mean joining a class or a group. With ADHD, self-motivation when there are no consequences is very difficult. Rather than saying, I'll learn to decorate cakes by forcing myself to practice weekly, we'll have much better odds of actually learning enough to make it fun by taking a class at a local craft store, adult school, or community college. These groups, clubs, and classes also make learning past our mistakes a lot easier. We can get frustrated when the initial joy wears off and it becomes work to learn more. When we feel surrounded by others who are struggling with the same things or did in the past, it feels easier to deal with than alone in our kitchen. If you choose to do this with friends, set the schedule in advance. You will get a lot farther planning to meet every Friday for 2 months than just trying to get together whenever you can make it work. Remember, not every experience has to become a hobby. It is perfectly acceptable to just try something out or do it for a short period of time. How would we find out what makes us happy if we just don't try things? And if we never tried new things, humanity wouldn't advance. The trick is to not let ourselves get carried away to the point that we let it interfere with our finances, our health, and our mental health. Next time something catches your attention, run through this checklist and experiment, enjoy. But find out if it's going to be an experience or a hobby without blowing your budget, time, or health, and to avoid future regret. If you found any of this useful, please like and subscribe. Please share this video with any friends that you think could benefit from this information. Now, go forth and do great things.